you've seen the outrage from the right. And look,
Sure.
again, nobody is saying that, oh my gosh, we're happy that this happened to Charlie Kirk. It should nobody. I don't believe in political violence. However, the right is saying, well, this is war, and you liberals are
What
killers.
was what was it when when the one congresswoman was murdered along with her husband in Minnesota and another congressman? See, because here's the thing. Now they bantering the word assassination around. Charlie Kirk was not a political figure. I mean, he might have been influential to political figures. He wasn't a political figure. He wasn't assassinated. He was shot. He was shot, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, that happens to far too many people. But those other two congressmen, they were political figures, and they were shot because of their political beliefs. And it's always like we can only have empathy for people if we relate to them, if we spark to them, if we have a tribal connection to them. It is a shame, and the thing that makes me the angriest about this is I always swore that I would never cede my humanity to anybody or any other situation, but that's getting more and more difficult to do because I certainly don't believe a young man, 31 years old, should have lost his life. But Charlie Cook, Kirk was a horrible human being. He said horribly incendiary things. As a matter of fact, he died. The very last words he spoke were basically putting the onus of gun violence on gangs, which is a synonym for synonymous with black people. He blamed the very way he died was lying about black people with his last breath. And I just think uh, the best thing I can say is that I hope he believed what he was saying. I hope he believed that lives being lost were worth it so the Second Amendment make it persevere. I hope he believed that there should be a lack of empathy. He was parsing between sympathy. Sympathy means we have a similarity. We can Empathy means I have nothing to do with you, but I can still feel your pain as a human being. And I hope he believed all the rhetoric he espoused, because if not, that was certainly an empty, vacant way to live, and certainly a horrible way to die.
Speaking of, here is Charlie Kirk on empathy.
Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just a little very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. Here's cut 64.
Okay, so you said sympathy and empathy are different. It would be great if one could have both, and that means it sounds to me like he's saying if I can't relate to you in any way, if you're not of my tribe, then I can't understand what it's like for
Exactly.
you. Yeah, therefore I have no empathy,
It,
no
it,
feelings about good feelings about you.
exactly. Even whenever, this is just my assessment of it. When I hear a white guy tell me how much he loves Christ, I wonder who he hates more, because it wasn't a mess of love and togetherness. It was separateness. It's superiority versus inferiority. Um, and it amazes me how when Jesus was sitting with Lazarus, uh, uh, when Lazarus was asleep, and he was sitting with I forgot her name. He was with her, crying with her, even though he knew that he would wake him up 5 minutes from now. Like he knew, but that's empathy. The very tenet, the very core of Christianity is empathy. Loving your neighbor, not yourself, not people in your tribe. And they bastardize almost every aspect of this. Of They've taken terms and twisted them to mean something that they don't. He was a white nationalist who said horribly incendiary things about virtually everybody. If you didn't have his worldview, if you didn't see the world like he did, you were on the other side of it. I think that you shouldn't die for that. But unfortunately, that has always been the history of this country. So I don't think I don't have a hard time holding these two ideas in my head at one time. I think he was a vile human being, and I think you shouldn't die for. If that were the standard or that was the predicate for killing somebody, I think anybody would be alive. But I think he shouldn't have died for that. But lionizing him, you lowering the flag. Even if Charlie Kirk had been alive when that school shooting that happened at the same time, he would have thought that those lives were worth it. He thought, and very clearly, he thought that the gun laws were too tough. He thought they should have been relaxed. So he died the very way, protecting the very thing that would take his life. And I think I don't believe in karma. I think that, but I do think it's interesting. He wasn't killed in New York or L.A. or he wasn't killed in Baltimore or any of the cities that they constantly hold up as whipping boy. He was killed in one of the whitest places on earth, and by someone that looked like him. You can tell. Let me tell you something. You know who it was because you know who it wasn't. When three words let you know when the black guy, Utah and at large. So I think it is a shame that such a young man um, was capable of such acrimony and vile speak. It was that's the saddest part to me.
Again, right now we don't know who the suspect is. You heard me read the update, I believe, DL, at the beginning of the
Yeah,
show when we started, that there's still a suspect on the loose. There's been all this misinformation. There was something about there's a transgender connection. None of that has been confirmed right now.
of course,
Yet
because
it's
they
still,
arrested they. You know how hard it is to find a white guy in Utah? That's got to be I think, and plus, look at who's looking for him. Between Pam Bondi and Bondi and Cash Patel, they shouldn't be head of security at a junior college. But these are what we have as the head of law enforcement in this country, and it wasn't that because of their acumen. It was because of their loyalty, their fealty. And now, when you need professionalism, you need people with expertise. You don't have it.
don't know, and still they're coming to conclusions about who is responsible, like Nancy
Exactly.
Mace. Listen.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country call panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then, by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both
Are you
sides?
kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We
a
don't
serious
know what
question.
condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking
not
you.
at all.
You said the
No,
Democrats
this
have to own
is
it too.
on.
But I'm asking,
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a
Democrats
problem
own
with
this.
political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
How do we know what he was? Like, we don't even know. And here's the thing. I guarantee. Now, I don't know who he was. I certainly don't know what his motivations are. But I do know this. I bet he was a white guy who could have a gun legally, and he was a good white guy with one of those guns. Who makes guns easier to get in a country so angry and so divided? Who insists on propagating more guns? Who insists on protecting gun lobbies? Who insists that we are safe enough and that the cost of freedom is the lives of American citizens every single day? Who owns that? It's really simple. We shouldn't have such unfettered access to guns. We shouldn't be so callous about them. Even Charlie Kirk's own words said that it was acceptable to lose American lives as long as they got freedom to protect the Second Amendment so they can protect that. What other right is more important than the right to life? Like, what other thing are you saving up for that the Second Amendment is going to protect you for other than the sanctity of life? What does that mean? I guarantee you, if you committed abortions with a gun, it would be a whole different thing. But that's not the way it is. They don't care about lives. It should be an abomination. If you can't tell me political speak didn't kill that man, somebody with a gun did. And it's easier to get guns in America than it is Sudafed. And you tell me the problem is what somebody says has nothing to do with the fact that they have the apparatus to commit acts of violence. They have apparatuses to do it. They could walk around in many states with guns and unfettered access to them. And you think it's just words? Words didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Somebody with a gun did, and somebody with a gun that people like him and people on the right made it easier to have and to possess and to stockpile.
Speaking of the Second Amendment, here's Charlie Kirk.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at
Is that this may sound harsh, but this is the world that he created, that he helped to create, the reality.
Listen, what is it? Proverbs 18:21. Life is death is in the power of the tongue. He said these things. He laid his life at the altar of the Second Amendment and felt. See, the problem is he didn't think, nor did they think it would happen to one of them. He didn't think it would happen to him. But it's fine when school kids are dying. It's fine when people are getting shot at synagogues. Look at. We've had. They tried to put a bomb in the. They burned down where the sitting governor of Pennsylvania was sitting, was with his family. Was this kind of outrage? They have tried to assassinate the president of the United States of America. He was a candidate at that time two times in the same month. But nothing has changed other than our pointing of fingers. If we want to make America safer, if we want to stop the rash of gun deaths, we have to decide that it's important enough for us to do it. And what they've decided is the gun lobby and whatever their personal ideologies are more important. The only thing, when I look at these people, the only freedom that these people seem to want is unfettered access to weapons and freedom to tell women what to do with their bodies. That's not freedom at all. I don't think that there's a something. People get mad when I say this. I don't think that there's a substantive difference between religious fundamentalists, Islamist religious fundamentalists, and Christian nationalists. I don't think there's a big difference because what they're doing in that part of the world, they'd like to do here. They would like to be able to do all they do here. What stops them is certain areas where it's not palatable, but they would run the world the way they do. And this idea. America, if violence is so unacceptable, why is it so readily accepted? We use these cliches. We are used to it. You know what they call in America? People are shot all the time. People are murdered all the time with the use of guns. You know what they call it? They call it Wednesday. It's called Wednesday. It's called Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's every day of the week. And you only get outraged when it's somebody who was tribal with you. But you don't say anything when children are slaughtered.
Since you mentioned that, DL, just so you know, as we are on this live stream now, there is reportedly, it's breaking news, it's coming out of UMass Boston. And there's folks are running for cover there because of reports of a shooting at UMass Boston happening just within the last 20 minutes. So it may not be a Wednesday, maybe it's a Thursday.
It's every day. Every day somebody's murdered in this country. We are, they think that it's got to be, all we offer is thoughts of prayers. It's got to be hard for God to hear prayers over the sound of gunfire and screams. It's become, and it's the country that we accept. So I can't even, it's the country we would decide to accept. But what I refuse to do is to let somebody tell me that because somebody died, it would have been okay for people to die in the way Charlie Kirk did, as long as we're in the service of the Second Amendment. That's what he said, right? That's what he said. That's what they believe. I think that that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think you live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's very unfortunate. But I can't think of a more apt, an ironic thing than actually saying his last words were gang violence. He was actually blaming
and transgender. He has taken a question on transgender accountability or something of that nature.
Yeah. So I'm sad for his wife and children. I'm sad for the countless children who will lose their parents because of the mentality of people like that, and the countless children who will be slaughtered in schools. It's more acceptable. We'll ban books, but not the instruments of destruction, because that's who we are. That's who we are. And it's ridiculous to stop. Violence has no place in America. Violence owns beachfront property in America.
Just in moments, we're going to get there's Donald Trump is speaking, and we'll hear from him in a moment. But I want to play this. This is DL. I really want you to respond to this. This is a Charlie Kirk on Black people and civil rights.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Yeah, and so it's very simple. So how do you love somebody? You love them so much to correct their error.
Yeah.
And so let's just, take the pride conversation out because people think it's an identification, which it's not, it's just sexual behavior. But it's, if you meet an alcoholic or you meet a drug addict, do you affirm their struggle? No. You say, you're better than this. Let's get you free from that. Let's get you free from that activity. Now, we don't know what part Elon is saying is the actual truth. So let's go through this. Again, it's double negatives and misuse of the word disinterested. It's a strange tweet that Elon pinpointed on here. But the first part is absolutely true. Let's go to this. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing, anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark
Okay,
Rowan,
so we
Leon
get
Kaufman.
the picture of what he's talking about there. He's talking about black people, the civil rights movement. That was a mistake. Gay people, problematic. Jewish people, apparently he's saying killers.
But he never really had to say why it was a mistake. And ultimately, it's a mistake because, in his estimation, I would imagine, because this country, and I think to his ear, was just for white people. And black people serve their purpose, and everybody else who's not them serve their purpose. I would just say this. America, this is America having to come to grips with the promise it made. It said that all men were created equal. It said that this, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, your. It asked for this. Black people didn't come here because there was a job fair we heard about. America, America had an opportunity to be just a white, a Christian country, but it couldn't handle it on its own. It had to bring other people in, and this is the America as currently constructed, which has really been consistent. America's always needed poor black and brown people to do its physical labor, and now it needs poor brown people to do its intellectual labor. So in America, if you won't pick an apple and you can't write an app, you're shit out of luck. And the problem is that we are the average American reads, the country, the average reading level is the 5th grade. They're angry that they have squandered their forefathers' inheritance, and they need somebody to blame. They always have to look for somebody to blame. So I think the civil rights movement certainly had its problems, but to say that it shouldn't have happened, what would your alternative be? For us to stay where we were? He was. This is a man who didn't even finish, ever graduate from college, but he's maligning he hasn't seen a black person apparently who's ever achieved anything from a merit perspective. They've always been set-asides and handouts. I defy you to tell me a greater gift to mediocrity than the Trump administration. They don't have a GPA of a what. So don't tell me about meritocracy and DEI and all the things that are unearned. You got a white dude who never graduated from college assessing people's intellectual acumen, and you got people now getting jobs just because of the color of their skin and their fealty.
Yeah.
America.
Go on.
America is where it is right now because this is what happens when people have to share. This is what happens when the sons of the people who had everything their way are now having to come to grips with that. People actually believe that they could become a thing in America and aspire to do it. And now they're having to compete against people and they're not prepared to do it. They're not prepared.
DL Hughley, thank you, sir. I always appreciate
Thank you, man.
your knowledge and perspective. I'll see you
Thank
soon, my friend.
All right, be
Thank you.
careful out here, man. All right. For
Yes,
sure.
you too. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.